What's up guys, welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Captain Zach, and today's subreddit is r/TalesFromTechSupport.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.
This story's called, Want Me to Get My Boss Involved? Yes, let's do that. A little backstory before we get to our Karen story. Not on mobile, English is my first language, blah blah, you know the drill. I work in the corporate office of a fairly large-scale oil and gas company as an IT admin, but I've been doing IT work for the past 20 plus years. At the time, I had just moved over to this company from a smaller MSSP in the area. So I am new to the company. While I don't know every little in and out of the company workings, I can still fix simple issues like software lockups, password resets, and domain profile issues. Stuff like that. About 3 weeks after I start, the finance company gets a few new contractors as well. One of them is our Karen. This woman is the definition of computer illiteracy. There are 3 people that comprise the IT staff in this building, and we all have our issues with her. The main issue being that she is needing a password reset at least 3 times a day in order to get into our financial software program. My manager, the service desk administrator, after 2 weeks straight of this, has just about had enough and does not contain his temper well. So he starts spending less and less time in his office. When Karen needs her password reset, instead of sending her an email as per policy, she walks or waddles down to his office and sits at his door until he resets it. Like he doesn't have anything else to do. So guess who starts taking the brunt of her requests? That's right, me! Now, before I get into the main story, let me set up how my office is laid out. We're basically one long hallway on the top floor of a new work park building. Directly across from my office is both my HR manager and my CIO, who is the reason I was hired and how I got such a huge boost in pay, so he and I get along awesomely. One day, Karen barges into my office with what I suspected was another reset of her password, and while I was right, she didn't appreciate my assumption. At this point, Karen has become more demanding and entitled, thinking we actually work directly for her supervisor. Not even sure why. Here's our cast. Karen, the entitled waddler with no memory. Me, your hero/stuntman. Awesome HR manager. Karen supervisor. CIO. Service desk manager. I need you to reset my password. And she immediately starts to walk off. Whoa, wait a minute, Karen. I need to know which password you're talking about.
The same one I always have reset.
This seems to be happening a lot, only for you. Let's try and find out why this is happening. Could you come back and troubleshoot this with me?
I just need it changed. I don't have time to troubleshoot anything with you.
I understand, but I feel like we're just putting a band-aid on the actual issue. I want to fix the problem so you aren't wasting time coming down to our offices all the time. Wouldn't you agree?
Listen, do you want me to get
her supervisor
involved in this?
We can, but it won't help you get this problem fixed sooner.
I'm just gonna tell
supervisor
that you won't help me.
She goes to leave. No problem. Perhaps with supervisor, we can get to the root of the issue. Karen leaves in a huff. Now, I have to explain. She was not being quiet, and voices carry in this office building. Bad insulation, honestly. Within 5 minutes, my awesome HR manager walked into my office and closed the door. She sits down and uncaps the pen to write in a notebook.
So, tell me what just happened.
Well, Karen came in and demanded I reset her password. Everyone here knows she's been having issues with it, and I wanted to rectify the main problem. Karen was obviously having none of it and threatened to get supervisor involved for no reason other than to intimidate me into just doing what she wanted.
That's what I thought I heard. Okay, thanks for your time.
With that, she walked out of my office and into my CIO's office. A few more minutes later, Karen's supervisor was in my office. She's actually really chill.
Karen said you weren't helping her?
Sorry, supervisor, but that's not correct. I was trying to fix whatever password issue she has going on. but she wasn't cooperating with my troubleshooting.
I understand. Would you mind resetting it just this one last time so I can get her working? She's already way behind on work.
Sure, here's the password she'll need to use until we can find the issue. I hand supervisor the password I've already changed Karen's password to, written on a post-it note, and she's off. As supervisor walks out, CIO is walking in. Hey OP, mind writing up an email of what just happened with Karen? Service desk manager has been having issues with her, but had no witnesses. Awesome HR manager just came in and confirmed everything service desk manager has been saying about her. No problem. I wrote up a quick email about what had happened and sent it over to CIO, awesome HR manager, supervisor, and service desk manager. The very next day, I get an email to block Karen's email, computer login, and front door access. She was escorted out of the building 5 minutes after I turned off her network access. And to top it all off, her password issue? As you may not be aware, when you are given a temporary password in this office, you are required to reset your own password upon login. I looked up the logs and she would reset her password correctly. The computer would eventually time out, but when she tried logging back into the computer instead of using the password she had just set it to, she would try to use the temporary password. It would lock out of her profile in 3 tries. I should have realized that this was a full-on PEBCAC error. Problem exists between keyboard and Karen. Hope you enjoyed my story. Have a great day and don't be a Karen. Wasn't planning on it. Yeah, my old technology teacher used to say that like 99% of computer issues aren't the computer's fault. It's user error. Which I feel like is pretty common knowledge, but he used to love telling us that anytime we'd have a problem with our computer, and he was usually right. And he'd make us figure it out, and if we couldn't, he'd walk us through what the problem is and make sure we learn how to do it. And he'd have, the students in the technology class go around the school, and we would act as the school's IT department, and we did a pretty good job. It was really satisfying to learn as you go. Really cool teacher. Anyways, that woman is really stupid, but I hate temporary passwords and resetting passwords. I hate when schools make you reset your password after a certain amount of time. It's so annoying. I get it's for security, but honestly, I don't really care about security that much. I mean, I do use a VPN, but that's just to watch Netflix from, other countries, because they usually have better stuff, to be honest. This story's called, Why Does the Power Button Turn It Off? So I work in point of sale. I am an integration specialist and typically deal with making our software mesh correctly with whatever special things the client wants to implement. One particular client of ours owns a series of high-end restaurants. Each one is uniquely named and branded, but underneath they are all identical, down to the menu. Each of these restaurants is being torn down and renovated from the ground up, and I was called in to consult on some new changes the client wanted implemented. Now, to improve the guest environment, the client wanted to minimize any and all technology in view of guests. The idea is that a guest should never see waitstaff entering their food orders, handling cash, printing receipts, or charging their credit cards. This means that all terminals capable of doing any of these things are located along one wall of the kitchen, rather than having a terminal tucked into a corner of their assigned section. Staff members have to bring the cash and/or cards back to the kitchen to run them, and also have to come back to order food or drinks that they cannot just refill themselves. You might think that this would cause unnecessary bottlenecking and in general slow down the entire process, and you would be absolutely right. However, to show that he was far smarter than anyone gave him credit for, the client then described his solution to this problem in the form of alley kiosks. These took the form of wall-mounted touchscreens with inset NFC chip readers. These kiosks would display artistic images when not in use, but when an NFC employee card was held to the concealed reader, the screen would be replaced with a menu where the staff member could order food or drinks discreetly. A touch of a button would return the screen to its artsy screensaver. It's not my restaurant, I just get paid to make it work. So in a week or two, we demo the new touchscreens along with the rest of the new setup. The client loves everything, but wants a few changes. He likes the flatter look of a different model of touchscreen than the one we proposed. The normal terminals he uses in the kitchen can be set up for wall mount, but it is still rather obvious they are computer screens, and they have a glowing logo on the bottom that ruins the magic. He suggests a different model that is a simple touchscreen with a small processor and memory, and receives power over its Ethernet cable. One cable to run, and it mounts flush on a wall and looks just like a digital photo frame. And completely unrelated to his decision-making process, it is $500 cheaper per unit. These frames have everything he asks for. No logos, no lights, and the NFC reader fits snugly in an expansion bay normally used for a mag strip reader. There is just one issue we notice. The screen has no physical power button. The only way to power cycle the kiosks is by remote command, or by resetting the Ethernet, which not only does a hard cutoff, but it also requires pulling the kiosk off its wall mount. The solution is simple, a power button on the menu screen. Because this is far from my first rodeo, I make the button require a 10-second hold before it activates. The button text says, "Hold to reset." Contracts are signed, money changes hands, and the upgrades start off, one by one. I get an email from the owner a few weeks after the first of the newly upgraded stores reopens. There is a laundry list of concerns that are all dealt with, but the last one catches my eye. Please make the reset hold button do something else. In my email updating the issues that I handled from the list, I ask for clarification. Would he like the button disabled? Would he like to repurpose the button to serve some other function? I, of course, remind him of the importance of the power reset button. He responds that the button is being hit by accident, which delays the crew member while the kiosk restarts. He also is concerned that a staff member may restart the kiosk, then leave, allowing a guest to see it starting up, realize it's a computer, and compromise the store. He does not want the button disabled, he just wants it to do something different. Again, I ask for further clarification and offer a few suggestions as to what the button could be used for, such as another menu or maybe some sort of information screen. I also reiterate that the easiest solution would be to just disable the button. The owner responds with an email directly to me that in all caps tells me to make the button do whatever as long as it doesn't power off the terminal. Another important line in the email is, "I don't care if it makes the kiosk dance, just don't turn it off." Quoted directly to preserve original prose. You got it, boss. The next day, the owner calls in. He says that it was funny the first time when his manager sent him a video of Rick Astley dancing on the alley kiosk, but that doesn't really fit with his idea of professionalism he wants the store to convey. He apologizes for his previous email, which was likewise unprofessional, and suggests maybe disabling the button would be a better idea. The owner would later give me a copy of Rick's album, Whenever You Need Somebody, during his next visit to our office. That's a cute little story with a good ending, a somewhat reasonable owner at the end there, which is very refreshing in contrast to the usual stuff we read, with entitlement and just jerk behavior. This story's called, What Do You Mean I Have to Pay for Office? Recurring theme since Windows 7 went out of support, and since a lot of our customers have had Windows 7 long enough that their computers came with that starter version of Office 2010 or the trial versions of Office 2010 that, when they expired, still allowed you to use them for basic stuff, like saving documents or sending and receiving emails in Outlook, but took away more advanced functions. This means a whole group of users who, for the last decade, have been under the impression that Office comes bundled free of charge with Windows. Not a trial version of Office, the full Office suite. Naturally, this has caused a lot of fun conversations of, I know it came bundled with your Windows 7 computer 11 years ago, but Microsoft doesn't do that anymore. If you want Office, you have to pay for it. If you just need something that can do Word documents, PowerPoint, and Excel, but don't want to pay for it, we recommend LibreOffice. And if you don't want to use webmail, we recommend Thunderbird. Both are free, Office and Outlook are not. 99.9% of our users understand that. even if they aren't happy about it. Sometimes someone will have an old set of CDs with the COA sticker, and we can install that for them without a Microsoft account. But it's really rare to come across anyone who still has those. Every now and again, we get one that just doesn't get the concept in general and will argue about it as though I can somehow go with, "You're right, that is BS. Let me just ring up Microsoft and tell them to make an exception just for you." This was a particularly fun phone call as I was the only one in the shop and there was a customer in the shop trying desperately not to laugh at the one side of the phone conversation he could hear me having with the customer who didn't get the concept of Microsoft Office isn't free. "But when I bought my Windows 7 computer, it had Office pre-installed. I need Office on the new computer." I explained the whole starter edition expired trial thing. "So, if I come in, you can install Office?" "You still have to purchase a license for it. We can walk you through setting up a Microsoft account if you—" "I don't want a Microsoft account. I just want Office." I explained that the way it works now, there aren't physical Office CDs anymore. You either buy a cardboard box with a keycard in it that has to be attached to a Microsoft account to get the download, or you subscribe to Office 365, which also requires a Microsoft account. Microsoft accounts are free, but required if you want to use Office now. "I'm not setting up a Microsoft account." "Then you can't have Office. You can download LibreOffice or OpenOffice, both of which are free and can open Microsoft Office documents." "No, I want Microsoft Office." "Then you need to set up a Microsoft account." "No." "That's not how it works." I explain it to him again and repeat that if he wants the latest version of Office, it requires a Microsoft account, which again is free to set up and takes maybe 2 whole minutes to do. It went in circles like that, while the customer on the other side of the counter keeps going on face journeys of trying not to laugh, having to listen to my side of this conversation, which by that point was repeating the same 3 things over and over. Eventually I'd had enough and really couldn't keep the guy in the shop waiting any longer. "Sir, your options are either to set up a Microsoft account and purchase Office, or to use one of the free alternatives. It doesn't matter how much you argue with me about it, that's the reality of it. We aren't Microsoft, and we aren't affiliated with Microsoft, and I have no say in how Microsoft chooses to make Office available. If you don't like it, call Microsoft to complain." "I will!" And he hung up. I could never work in tech support. I just can't deal with people like that. I have absolutely no idea what I would do in that situation. I would cry.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.